Okay, we still may have one or two more people joining, but I think we'll make a bit of a start now. Welcome everyone this morning. Thanks for joining us for this special talk. We're absolutely delighted to welcome Gregorio, Sola, Vela and Antje, Kiewell to talk to us this morning all about scent, which obviously our exhibition has been really focused on at the Watts Gallery with the Scented Visions exhibition that we have on currently just for the last few weeks of the run of the show as well. Just a little quick introduction. Gregorio is a senior perfumer at Puig, the renowned Spanish fragrance house, and he's the creator behind the 3 scents that feature in our exhibition. So I'm really excited to hear a lot more about that because it's been very special for us to have this sort of extra dimension and aspect to the show. And Antje is an art curator and founder of Artphilia, which is dedicated to the way that we all experience art, including scent encounters. So very much looking forward to hearing more about that as well. And the title of today's talk is Discover the Heart and Soul of Pre-Raphaelite Scents. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to both of you now.
Yeah, good morning. Exciting to be here together with Gregorio, as you said, the creative visionary scent creator between John Everett Millais' The Blind Girl and Simeon Solomon's Saint of the Eastern Church scents. I would like to share my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. We can see.
So this is a picture of the installation of Millais' Blind Girl and Simeon Solomon's Saint of the Eastern Church at the Watts Gallery. And in front of it, you see the AirParfum machine by which Gregorio's scents are being diffused in the room by the scent of a button. So not ambient, but by individual visitor. The project started when in 2022, I became aware of an exhibition at El Prado in Madrid, which was called The Essence of a Painting, an olfactory exhibition, which focused on the painting The Sense of Smell by Jan Bruegel and Peter Paul Rubens. And Gregorio, back then, had created 10 distinct scents based on objects in the painting, which you can see here on the right. For example, the scent of orange blossoms, but even the scent of amber-scented gloves. So, Gregorio, when you approach a painting, how do you translate it into a fragrance? What is your first step?
Thank you for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Good morning to everyone. Well, the first approach is the research. Research about what the painter wanna put in the painting. You know, what the intention when they put the brush over the toil, how they interpret the different things. In the case of El Prado, Jan Bruegel was a very good painter with the very, very small details, and all the things are very clear. So when you means about orange flower, there were a real orange flower, almost like it was a photography. When you think in a rose, he painted 8 different types of roses, but there were Damascenian rose, the one we use in perfumery, and centifolia rose. There is only 2 classes of roses we use in perfumery, 2 types of roses. And you can really see the difference in between these 8 different types of roses. So in the case of El Museo del Prado, the research came with the amber scented glove, by example, where we have to deep research in the National Archive of France to found the formula of these amber gloves. So in the case of Millais, first thing is to know his life, to know how was Victorian ages in England, to interpret. It's not my interpretation. I try to reproduce a smell of what Millais will paint or has painted. So the research is the most important thing in this case. Is thanks to Christina Bradstreet with the Scented Vision, her book. She told a lot of things about perfume in that time, how the people interpreted. The pre-Raphaelites were also people against the trend. They were doing something new, and in all the fragrances or in all the painting, each thing has a meaning. So we have to translate that into the fragrances.
I go back one more slide, one more minute on El Prado, because I wanted to introduce our listeners today to the machine, which was also at El Prado, what we call the AirParfum machine. So again, like in the El Prado now at Watts, the visitor can press a button and then can experience the 10 individual scents at the Prado and the 3 individual scents at the Watts, one-on-one, without the scent escaping into the environment, without the scent damaging the artworks, and most importantly, thereby connecting the viewer to the intentions of the artist through the magic of our sense of smell, because only our sense of smell has this ability to connect to our memory. At El Prado, Gregorio, remember, the visitors interacted with the artwork for 13 minutes. Normally, they look for 31 seconds at El Prado. So when I was introduced to Christina, who had just published her research into the pre-Raphaelites, I was like, I have to create an exhibition with this technology in the UK. And so then Christina and I, the village, we presented it to Alistair Bradshaw at the Watts Gallery and Jenny Powell at the Barber Institute of Fine Arts, the 2 people on the left of this picture. And we became a group of 3 curators, Christina Bradstreet, Corinne Henderson, and myself, who then talked to Gregorio on how to create those 3 scents. Because the pre-Raphaelites often suggested smell in their works, flowers, incense, damp earth, to convey both emotions and meaning. So the exhibition has been touring the UK since October last year, and 50,000 visitors have experienced the scents, which is as many visitors as attended the Frieze in London last week. So it's a huge success to our team, and we couldn't be more delighted. Now, let's go into the scents, shall we? We reached out to Gregorio to create 3 bespoke scents. The first one I've presented here, which is the rain-soaked meadow and the rainbow in Millais' Blind Girl. And I've pulled up a little visual here in the middle, which will now change based on how the scent changes over time when you have it on your skin. So have a look what happens in the scent Gregorio created. How did you build this fragrance, Gregorio? Which different notes did you use? Which materials or accords? I find it fascinating.
Well, as I said, the pre-Raphaelites always want to show something different in their paintings. In this case, there is the rainbow that is God and the poverty of the girl. So there is a clash of ethics, the godness, the feel, and the poverty and the love of the sister. So I build up these fragrances in a contrast of different ingredients. So first of all, the countryside of England do not smell that the countryside in Spain. It's more humid, it's more green. Greener is greener than is in Spain. The one is more yellow, yours is more green. And then we also, with the help of Christina Bradstreet, one of the curators, we contact one of the Facebook group of the Winchelsea, the city you can see at the end of the painting, to know more about the place, if this is a marsh, if it is salty or if it is not salty water. So all this information came to me, and then with that I construct a new fragrance representing the smell of this fresh cut grass. The fresh cut grass that you see, the pasture and the sap inside of this fresh cut grass with the rain, because it has been raining. You can see the clouds in the backside of the painting, dark and very electrified. No, so we started with an accord of fresh cut grass, but the green notes are a little bit sharp. So we tried to sweet them to make them more easy, adding a green apple note. Green apple, why? Because this acidity and watery part of this green apple note make the accord easier to smell. It's not so sharp, it's not metallic, it's not astringent. So thanks to this green apple mixed with this fresh cut grass, the accord become easily to smell. Then, as you see, when Antje showed us how the perfume evolved, is because the perfume evolved with the time. So we also translate the water that you can see in the right side of the painting. This is not a clear water. It's a beach water. It's humid. It's hearty. It's damp. So we use an accord of autumn, that is mushroom, is lichen, is moss, is dark wood, that increase this feeling of ditched water with the reeds, in contrast with the freshness of the fresh cut grass. So as in the painting is a clash between the good and the evil, because a clash between the heaven and the heart. We try to reproduce this feeling with this freshness and this dirty note, dirty and dark and earthy note that make contrast with this fresh cut grass. So this is mostly the interpretation we did about the painting of this paint.
Yeah, and thereby this is the first fragrance which really captures artist intentions and emotions, because what John Everett Millais painted was this contrast between heaven and earth. And this is exactly what you translated into the fragrance by starting with the damp earth, going all the way into the dark clouds at the horizon and the watery vision. Did you use aldehydes or something to express this brightness? Because it's just such bright colors in these pretty Raphaelites. How did you make sure that the fragrance was bright as well?
In the perfume of the feel of the grass, not, but in the one we did for the girl, we use aldehyde, because it's not my interpretation as a perfumer. I try to be the more fidel to the real interpretation intention of Millais when he painted the painting. And then for that, I asked the curator of the museum, and I asked also to Christina Bradstreet to know about the pre-Raphaelites, what they were the intentions. So in the case of the girl, the blind girl, I started with a very dirty and dark note, and then Christina told me, no, that's not at all the intention. You have to do the opposite. The girl is, you see, the face is clean, is bright, is innocent. So you have to translate this innocence. But I say, well, but is this all this fabric of Lindsay Woolsey that is rough and is heavy? I should translate that. No. So as you say, we started making an accord of white cotton, like a white t-shirt, very clean, very bright white, like representing the brightness and the purity of the blind girl. Then we did again a class of contrast with the dirty matte and the Lindsay Woolsey fabrics, and then we add some ingredient that will increase this class of fragrance. So as you see, you can put a reproduction if you want, that they can see how it evolved from this cotton flower and jasmine, white flower mixed with cotton flower and mass clean and white, and then how they will increase going to a more dirty and more moody note of the fabric he was wearing. So if you can put in motion the wiki parfum, we will see. You see the fabrics get increased, and also this smoky woody side, and then the white and clean and purity decrease, and then the fabric become higher, and the fabric is wrought. I added a lanolin note, a waxy and dirty side of the fabric. There is also a note of warm skin that we build up with some ingredient that give you this feeling of warm and soft skin, but always making a contrast in between this clean aldehyde, clean t-shirt that make this purity and innocence, and the woody like patchouli, that is a dark tobacco and chocolate woody that make the contrast, and the dark side, the deepest side of the girl. So I try to interpret this purity again, like in the first one. It's a contrast between the good and the evil, between the innocence and purity, and the dirty of the
Yeah, and for me, it then became almost the smell of an old comforter. You know, I had a rabbit when I was a little child, a stuffed rabbit, which after a while wasn't recognizable as a rabbit anymore, but it had this really familiar, well-loved smell, which to me was wonderful. To most other people probably wasn't. And so I thought in this smell you really captured this very intimate moment between the two sisters, where the younger one presses her face into the shawl, snuggles into her older sisters, while they experience this extraordinary vision of the rainbow, and then at the same time having this ordinary feel, the comforting smell of the old worn fabric. Again, I think a smell which we never have experienced before. I think based on, it was loved by many of the visitors based on verbatims we got. It's truly unique. And as you said, it wasn't easy to balance the smells of poverty, the hard-wearing Lindsay Woolsey clothes, with the softer elements, the skin, the warmth with Millais painted. I think a very delicate balance here.
Exactly. And it was very interesting, the conversation, the talk we had with the curator of the museum, because he explained to us the meaning of the thing. At the end, Millais has painted a lot of small detail, as you say, the two girls, the innocence of them, the love between the small sister and the older one, the younger sister. So you can interpret it as poverty, but in the other hand, is they have this purity and innocence of the blindness. You see, so it's what we try to translate, and it's for that reason that instead of starting from a dirty note, we started for a clean note, because the purity, it's like Millais is telling us that, okay, they don't have any money, they live in the poverty, but they are clean.
Yes, there is definitely hope, isn't there? Lots of hope and love in the artwork. A question: do you ever imagine yourself physically in the painting, Gregorio, like walking through it, breathing the air, feeling the surface? Like, how do you imagine the art?
Well, in this case, I've been really lucky because when I was living in England, I lived in Ramsgate. It's not far from Wiltshire. So at the end, the countryside is almost the same. So I've been there, not just in Winchelsea, but I've been in Ramsgate and in the countryside around Ramsgate and the Dover and all this cliff and all this windy and Atlantic breeze you receive. So for me, when I watch the painting, it's like I was there. But it's true that there were not the poverty of the girl, but for me the easy way, the easiest one was to reproduce the smell of the fresh cut grass. As I said, Millet painted them with a lot of detail. You can see the cattle in the back. You can see the forest also. There is a willow. So willow is a tree that has this dark wood. It's not a clean or white wood. It's completely different. So when I imagine there, I can smell the cold sea breeze from the Atlantic and the movement of the grass with the wind. And well, as I said, I'm lucky because I almost live something similar. So yeah, I just put some of myself inside of the fragrance. And one of the most important thing is that I'm explaining all these small details that we put also in a fragrance, and that AirParfum, the machine we use, allow you to smell all those different facets. As we said in a previous conference, a perfume is like a diamond. It has different facets. You can smell the perfume of the blind girl, and they say, oh yes, it's white cotton t-shirt, or you can say, oh no, it's matte, it's this dirty, hurty, moody, and dark watery. So each one of them will be right, because they are going into this fragrance for a different door. It's like, for me, it's what makes fragrances fantastic and marvelous and inexplicable. And so you can have different facets, and all of them are correct. So I remember smelling the fresh cut grass, and other people telling me, no, but it smells hearty. It smells like mushroom. Yes, I said, yes, it's correct. But for me, I can only smell this fresh green apple that is brighty and luminous and watery. So thanks to the machine, thanks to AirParfum, and when you have been in a perfumery and they offer you a ceramic or a paper or something, it's not the same. AirParfum allow you, they allow to me as a professional, to smell the different facets of the fragrance. It's like the high fidelity, you know. The older like me will remember that there were not high fidelity and not Dolby surround in the cinema. Now the sound is incredible because you can perceive the small sound you hear. In the case of AirParfum, is the high fidelity of the fragrances because you can smell the different and the small facet that I added, as Antje says, some aldehydes to increase this cleanness, the lanolin side of the Lindsay Woolsey fabrics. So it is there. So you can find them. It's like when you are listening an opera and then you get concentrated in the violin and then you forget all the other instrument and you just follow the violin. In perfumery, it's the difference between breathing and smelling. When you smell, you get concentrated on what you are smelling. So in this case, AirParfum in the place you are smelling allows you to smell all those different facets.
Yeah, and I personally think AirParfum teaches my nose because I can press the button again and again, and my nose doesn't get tired as it does with the paper plotters you mentioned in the perfumeries. Here I can really smell around in the multifaceted scent and become better at it. It's really wonderful.
Exactly.
Now, because Millais was one, Alistair Burtonshaw of the Watts Gallery was very keen to bring to life Simeon Solomon's A Saint of the Eastern Church. Obviously, a completely different artwork from Millais, a much more layered piece of art when we look at it, a ritualistic scene with the incense burner, a censer, the church woods, the fabrics, and then the branch of myrtle. And it has so much spirituality in it. Such a different animal. We got, like, at first I was really shocked if we could do something like this. When Alistair told us to consider it. So let me show you again how this perfume develops over time. And Gregorio, could you again explain how you compose this scent and what are its like accords? Did you start with the incense heart, which is for me the thing which I see first in the artwork? Or how did you go about building this scent?
Well, as I said at the beginning, the most important thing research you do about the painting, and the curator and Christina were very, very helpful in this case. You know, if we're in Spain, the easiest way to do this fragrance is to mix incense with myrtle. That's all. But you know, see also pre-Raphaelites were the rebel of that time. You know, at that time, in the Victorian ages, incense were forbidden in the English church. And myrtle is the symbol of purity. And Simeon Solomon painted a saint that looked like homosexual because homosexuality was also forbidden. So I didn't know at that before I arrived to this painting. I didn't know. So they gave me this information, and suddenly I realized again, this is like an advertisement saying, look, here I am. Homosexuality is not a sin. prescribed incense in church, it doesn't matter. So I try to make different layers of the fragrance. So yes, there is incense inside of the perfume, but it's not the main note. Incense is a myrrh, that is another incense that came from Eritrea, Ethiopia, all those regions. That is one of the first ingredients that they used to burn, to make a smoke, to reach goats. There is a lot of symbology inside. So I followed this symbology, creating a fragrance based in white flowers, orange flower, but also tuberose. Tuberose is in the Bible because it's a sacred flower. It's an ointment they use to anoint Jesus Christ. You can find that on the Bible. So the floral bouquet was constructed about tuberose and orange flower mixed with this incense and myrrh. But that's not all, because as you say, the walls are made on wood and they are black column of wood. So we work with very modern ingredients, synthetic one that gives you this sensation, this feeling, this smell of dark wood mixed with absolute vinyl to give this golden side. Also with benzoin, that is also a resin that came from Cambodia, that will increase this creamy side of the walls. Myrtle is an aromatic note, very terpenic in the top note. The turpentine that it has is a little bit harsh. So even though the myrtle is very present in the painting, I reduce it because it was so harsh that, if you remember, I did different fragrances, because you don't arrive just doing one, you do 50 or hundreds of fragrances, and then finally you choose one, the best one for you, the most suitable for the project. And then we add a small quantity, of myrtle, because it's very important for the painting. But in terms of fences, when you mix that with the power of incense and the power of myrrh, because myrrh is greener than incense, it becomes so aggressive. We also think in the ambience where the scent is, that is in a church. So we reproduce the wax of the candle, the heat that came from the candle, and also the wood of the benches and the mineral side of the stone that make the church, because usually they are made on stone. So if you see again a new diamond, a different diamond that build this fragrance and has a lot of different facets. Probably you are able to smell that at the museum, at the Watch Gallery. You'll see there is not only vanilla, there is not only incense. Maybe you could find it very myrtle, or you will find the wax note from the candle. So at the end, it's a very complex fragrance with a lot of symbolism at the painting. We use sacred ingredients like incense and myrrh, and also tuberose.
Yes, and again, visitors were transported when smelling this scent directly into Sunday church. And some remembered that they had to go into church, remembering the pressure to having been going to church and to being quiet for a long time, and all this came to the top and was talked about in the galleries simply by smelling the scents, and thereby bringing all those details, like you said, all the symbolism to the visitor, to us, in such a emotional way, very personal. And the reactions to this scent were very different to Millais' The Blind Girl, which I think is really the strength of the exhibition, that we have two so very different scents here. Also, the Simeon Solomon, a saint of the Eastern Church, is a watercolor, so highly fragile. So again, we were only able to create a scent and diffuse a scent accompanying this painting thanks to the AirParfum technology, because Gregorio's scents are attached to air molecules, so not the alcohol molecule when they are being diffused. So the scent experience doesn't isn't a risk to even a delicate work like Solomon watercolor, which is really quite an achievement technology-wise.
And let me add, Antje, that one of the most friendly things that happens when we put an AirParfum in a museum, like in El Prado or like in Barber Museum and now in What Gallery, is, as you say, people spend more time, but it's not only that they spend more time, it's that they share. You know, they share what they smell and say, do you see this note? Or it's too green, or it's too earthy, or it's too incense, and it make the experience different. You know, usually when you visit a museum, you are alone with yourself, and you can share with someone if you are an expert, but if you are not, you just enjoy the painting on your own. But when you are smelling, you share your impression, you share your smell, what you have smelled, and make the experience completely different.
Yes, you're right, because sometimes there were big groups of visitors trying the scent after each other, but they all huddled around the machine and shared their experience, like, no, the grass is not that green in England. Yes, the grass is this green when it just has rained. It became really a very animated visitor experience, lots of talking, laughing, and people would call others over and say, you need to try this, you need to try this. I don't think I've ever heard this when there was just visual stimulus in an art gallery. So quite fascinating. So could I ask the people who are listening today or are watching this later, how would you respond? Which of the three perfumes do you imagine would be the most evocative for you personally, and why? Would you mind putting that into the chat for me so we can hear a little bit your thoughts on the three scents? And I wanted to share with you a really fabulous tool which Puig has developed, which is called WikiPerfume. It's a webpage called wikiperfume.com. And on this encyclopedia for fragrances, the three perfumes which we created for the exhibition are included. So that's where I got the videos of the evaluation of the scent from. So you can find it under Sir John Everett Millais' Rainbow. And then the interesting bit is you can click which commercial fragrances are similar to these. You can also put in your favorite fragrance on WikiPerfume and learn how they are different to those three fragrances, or which fragrance you might want to consider next time. So it's our way of keeping those fragrances available for when the exhibition unfortunately ends on the 9th of November.
Thank you, Antje. That looks fascinating, the Wiki perfume site. I'm looking forward to looking that up. I just wondered if you could repeat the question that you were asking for everyone.
Which of the three fragrances, the overall scene, the rain, let's say, the green grass with the rain, then the shawl or the church, do you imagine would be the most evocative for you, and why?
Okay, I've just put that into the chat. I was thinking about that. For me, I have a favorite one, which is the comforting shawl one, the second one.
Yeah.
But I thought it was everything that you've talked about has been fascinating this morning. Yeah, so noticing people in there and having gone into the exhibition and experienced it with other people and gone to the scent machine, what I've been surprised about is how differently everybody receives it. So, and everyone has a different favorite. And I think, Gregorio, you were talking about those sort of different facets of the perfume and different notes of it. And everybody picks up on something else in it, don't they? And certainly my favorite wasn't the favorite of everyone. And I find the Simeon Solomon one is like so overpowering. It's amazing in a different way, but it's such a different experience. So yeah, you know, it's fascinating to see it through that lens in a way. What else did I note down here? I mean, hearing you talk this morning, the whole process of developing a fragrance, it's so interesting to get more of an insight into how you do that, and how you kind of experience the painting and try and sort of really get into that and then pull out from it through scent. It's you know, really been interesting to hear about that. I also agree, like the dwell time that you talked about, people spending a lot longer, and I think it does really make you reevaluate the way that you're looking, and it encourages that conversation and debate about artworks, which is wonderful. And I found that having experienced the scent, I then went back round the exhibition and looked at it again in a different light, which was very exciting. Yeah, I think
because that would be like my pledge or my hope after the exhibition, that people who now go and look at art kind of think back of how would this smell? What could this be in a fragrance? And then thereby search for this personal connection with the artwork and delve deeper and look out for the details which Gregorio brought to life in those scents. Because unfortunately, our eyes don't smell. It just would be brilliant if they could. It's really one-dimensional just looking at art.
It's so true. And I think like you kind of almost feel like you're breathing the painting in when you think about it in that way. It's wonderful. So it's definitely made me have a different way of looking and experiencing not just the works in there, but as you say, you take that beyond that exhibition with you to others. And I agreed as well, you said about how you almost don't get so tired with the button pressing the machine. When you do go in and just smell from the paper, you get overwhelmed with it, don't you? And you can't almost smell anything any longer, but it's a very different experience through the machine. And it's a real blast of scent. I don't know how many of the people that are listening have actually seen the exhibition and experienced it, but it's a very different way of having it. Right, we've got some comments, I think, in here in the Q&A now, so I'll just go through those. So we've got here rain, memories of childhood, which is when you spend a long time outside at break time at school, being very aware of the weather and the changes when the clouds arrive. Absolutely.
Very nice, yes.
Emma's put here, I think the woolen shawl, because the comfort of the shawl would remind me of cold winters, but also the lanolin scent would possibly remind me of lambing time on the farm and the thought of new life.
Very nice.
Yeah, agree, completely agree.
Any other comments or
Yeah.
questions for Antje and Gregorio?
One of the most difficult things I said is that if you ask me for a perfume of roses, I will do the one you like or the one I like, because I will put my experience in the roses. Or if you ask me for a jasmine, I will remember the one where in south of Spain, in Malaga, when I was a child. So some of my experience will be inside of the fragrance. In this case, because there is a painter painting, we try to reproduce, we try to translate the idea of Millais painting this paint, or Simeon Solomon painting the Saint of the Eastern Church, because they have an intention. They were the rebel of the time. You know, they were against the fashion. They were against the trend. They were in prison for that reason. And then when you knew all the story around all the Victorian ages, the times, then you realize why they paint that. And then it's not just my experience, what I put inside, it's their experience when they were painting that. And I think that that makes the difference when you work for a museum and when you work for a painter, is something different.
Yeah, and I find it fascinating that I can relate my childhood memories, like the other comment just made, to the intention hundreds of years ago the painter had. I mean, it is fascinating to capture those emotions and meanings which he puts in there, which many are still relevant to this day, I think. So it yeah, it's like time travel in a way.
Absolutely. I have one question for you, which I expect you both probably get asked quite a lot. I wondered if you might be able to share with us maybe what your favorite perfume is, or favorites.
Gregorio, you go first.
Well, for me, at the end, it's like, which is your favorite song? All of them are really nice. Each one of them has his own personality. You know, the freshness of the fretwood grass, the lanolin from the blind girl, or the contrast of tuberose with incense in the Simeon Solomon. I cannot say which one is my favorite, really, because each one of them has his own personality.
Was the question three was our favorite fragrance or overall?
Sorry, was the question? It was a bit echoey then.
Sorry, which of the three fragrances from the exhibition was our favorite, or which is our overall best fragrance?
I think I'd be interested in the answer to both of those things.
So like Gregorio, I'm not English. I have been living here for 27 years. So I'm very fond of the emotions in The Blind Girl, the overall scene of, because for me, it's quintessentially British and what I love about the weather here. So this is definitely mine. And then overall, I'm a big fan of patchouli. So I'm in the patchouli camp of fragrances overall, because it reminds me of my mother, who was a rebel in Germany in the mid-70s. I think you can paint a picture of her easily.
Wonderful, thank you. Any final questions? If you have got any, pop them in the chat now. Can't see anything else coming in there. But it has been so fascinating this morning. Thank you both so much for joining us and telling us more about, you know, how you work and sharing the process and what you think about sort of working with scent. It's really been great to hear more about it and in such sort of detail and depth. So yeah, we are delighted that you've been able to come along, all of you. Thanks for joining us. We have recorded the session as well, so we'll send out the recording. I think 1 or 2 people arrived a little bit after the session started, so don't worry, we've recorded and we can, anything you've missed, you can catch up on. So yeah, thank you, Gregorio and Antje. Do you think you'll have a chance to visit again before the end of the show? I expect you've been several times already.
Yes, but I will be there towards the end. I also have the honor of taking it all down. It will be terribly sad because it has been a long time. But yeah, all good things come to an end. Thank you.
Yes, we're going to be sad as well that when it finishes. It's been a real joy to have it there. So thank you.
Thank you very much to you and to all the people who attend. It's been a pleasure to be here and to explain our fragrances and our project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.